Now that the house is fully built, the external shell of it, now it's time to clad it in the render board ready for the rendering for the windows. So this is what I'm doing at the moment. I marked out the stud positions on the membrane so I know exactly where they were, and then I've had to double the timbers up because we're going for a 50mm cavity rather than 25mm to bring it out flush with the downstairs insulation in the bungalow. So I'll have to go around all the windows, as you can see here, and these are the little cavity tray details. So that will go on there like that, and then there's little trickle vents that will sit in them gaps. And I've also done a massive cavity at the bottom, so that will sit on there like that, be sandwiched in between the render board, and then there'll be some trickle vents in there to allow the water to come out. So the driving rain and the condensation will flow down there and then come out through the bell cast, through the holes, and then drip over the bell cast and off the main wall down the bottom. So what I've done is I've worked it out where I'll be doing, so where my closest stud is to a full board and what I'd have to cut them to, and I put a 50mm batten there to take the join between the two, and then in between I've just put the shorter 32mm or 38mm batten on there. So that's basically, they're your cavities. So we've got two cavity trays on this wall because eventually we're going to have a double garage on here that'll be 3.6 metres high. So that's what this cavity tray is for, so that'll allow the water to go out and drop onto the garage roof. In the meantime, until that's built, we've got a cavity along the bottom. What we don't want is when we build the garage is the water trickling out into the garage through the bottom one. So this will all become redundant, and this will be in the garage roof space eventually, this here. So I've done this wall completely, pretty much. It's got these little bits down the bottom there to do still. So that's for the two windows. Just got to put a batten right the way along the top there. But obviously some of this render board and batten will be in the roof void, so you won't see it anyway because your soffits will be going up there, as you can see there. So I'm not putting the soffits on yet until the render has been, so you can render right up into that void. But it's basically one wall done pretty much. So we're now onto the front wall, which is what I'm doing now. So two windows again, cavity along the bottom, which is in there, cavity above the window at the top as well. So it's a bit more complicated, the front one, because you've got a cavity, and then what we've also got to do is make sure that the steel which is in there is protected. So we've got a deep seal that runs straight over the steel, so you can't get any water in the steel. But we've also got a bit of a mash up there because we've got a timber wall at the bottom, sandwiched between a brick wall there and a brick wall there, and then timber wall in front and the timber gable. So it's a bit more of a mammoth job covering this one. What I've also got to do is work out somehow how I'm going to get render board over the steel under here, because obviously there's insulation in there, so I can't just screw straight in with timbers. So I might have to bite the bullet and accept that I'm going to have to put a bit of batten into some of this brickwork and not insulate a tiny bit of the brickwork externally, which isn't the end of the world because we're insulating internally as well with 25mm phenolic on the inside, so it'll still be good. And then most of this front wall is timber framed anyway, so it's just that little bit there I've got to worry about, and that space down there I've also got to brick up. So I'm going to put it on a little video, a little time lapse while I start to batten the rest of this wall. So we're finally there. It seems like it's taken forever, but I finally battened the entire house at 400 mil centres. So that's the gables and every side. So you can see I've gone around the window. That'll give us the reveal with the render board going on it. We've got the cavities above the windows where there'll be weep holes. The water doesn't run out above the windows. We're going to have to do some corner pieces. In fact, I've got to put one more there just for the drainage. You can see just the extent of just how much batten I've had to put on here. It just goes on forever and ever. So this is the side. Again, with the cavity on the bottom for the water to run, and then the insulation will come up flush against that. Then got the rear, again, battened, the cavity trays above. So there'll be weep holes on here for the water to come out that way, but it'll also be able to run down into the main cavity. Again, you've then got the gables up there, you've got to get all the render board up there. And then all the way round, doubled it up there for drainage, for the drain pipes to run down in the brackets. And then same again right all around this side. This time I've had to put an extra cavity in because eventually the garage will be coming up to under here, the roof. So you need a cavity to be leaking the water onto the garage roof. This one will become redundant and this wall here will be in the garage. So what I don't want is the water dripping into the garage. So that'll basically be redundant, that bottom bit. So I have to put two cavities in this side. So it just takes an awful lot of measuring, planning and working out where all your battens are going to go around your windows and everything else. So now I've got these equally difficult, boring task of putting all the render board on. Priority is to get the windows done because the windows are coming in on Monday. So I want the reveals already in so the window fitters know where they're coming up to. But yeah, it's been very time consuming, but we're finally getting there. Hey everyone, so I thought I'd give you a quick update. Windows are in, as you can see, and they've started rendering. They've meshed everything. So they've done their first coat, so it's all meshed. Got all the beading across along the bottom. So this is the mesh, and then I've got to put another coat over the top of the mesh, another base coat, and then the silicone render final coat goes on that. So it's looking good. Windows are all in. I put the door frame in and the door in the front. The bottom will be getting done afterwards. And we haven't bothered putting a stop bead on the bottom there because there's going to be a garage roof coming up here, so you're not going to see the bottom bit. But it's slowly but surely getting there now. The render board was an absolute pig, absolute nightmare getting that on. Hard work. I thought the batten was boring and hard enough work, but getting the render board on really was killer. You can see there, so there's the mesh. All the corner beads, stop beads are on. So it's nice and square. And there's the other gable and the windows. So it's starting to take shape now. They reckon they'll be done by next week. So once they're done, I can start to then tile the roof. So it's starting to look like a house now, which is exciting. The walls are all rendered, the soffits are all built, and I'm about to start tiling. So I've just been battening the roof both sides. Put the battens at the top of the ridge, and these are the tiles that we'll be using. They're called Envirotile. They come in a double and a single. mainly singles, and then you use your doubles for any end cuts and to fill in any gaps. So that's the system that we'll be using to tile the roof. They're recycled plastic, they're nice and easy to lift, which was important because it would have done me in lifting all the tiles off my own up to the scaffold. So yeah, just putting the dry verges on. So the house is fully rendered now. Windows are all in. So I've got this tile up here that's a gutter in, soffits. It's all pretty much ready to go now. Weather's been kind, it's September and it's still super sunny and warm. So I'm quite lucky. I've decided to cross batten the roof because I wanted maximum ventilation under the tile. So I've put battens on the trusses and then I've cross battened it. So you've got a nice bit of clearance of drainage in there underneath. So we're pretty much ready to go now. So I'm going to start tiling the other side and then tile this side afterwards. Okay, so as you could see from the time lapse, I started doing this corner first. It's quite a simple tile, it's plastic, so it's easy to cut to the size that you want, which is key because it's a lot easier than cutting concrete tiles. And obviously you can cut, there's double ones that come especially, so you can cut the tile down to smaller than half. So these are double ones. So obviously what you don't want to be doing is having half or less than half of a single tile. So by having the double, it means you've still got decent anchorage on the tops, and you can cut this down to just a sliver if you need to, which is what I've been doing to start off. But they're quite a good tile because they slot into each other. So you've got little lugs on the bottom there, and they slot into there. So basically you've got 3 gauge settings, so you don't even have to work out your own gauge. You set them to whatever sort of gauge you want, overlap you want. So I've set my battens to 280, so I'm slotting into the top one just because I wanted more of the tile on show. So they drop in there and then slot over, and again you can position them anywhere in that slot. So there's just, you've got a centre mark on there as well, so you can position it, you know, left or right depending on where you need to position your tiles. So you can also add a bigger gap between 2 tiles or less gap depending on how your tiles lay out on the first course. So you've got centre lines for cutting, so you know exactly where you've got to cut down, and then it also slots into the next one, and this is like a water channel. So any water that gets in there will drop out of this channel in here. So it goes in there and then falls out and then comes out the bottom there. This is actually a really clever design. I couldn't find too much on YouTube to see how they fit it, but the instructions you get are pretty self-explanatory. It's also worth noting you've got to have an expansion gap there of 5mm at least, so you can slot them in up to there to give you your 5mm, or obviously widen it up. So as long as that slot is aligned with that hole in there, you can have that as open as you want really, to kind of get decent spacing for whatever you need. But it's super easy to cut, and they just lock into each other. There's an eaves bar that goes on the top of the soffit at the bottom, and that screws into the top of the soffit to lock in the very first tile so it can't blow over. The only thing I will say about these tiles is you're supposed to use their own membrane, which costs an absolute fortune. I've used my Tyvek because, you know, it's a well-known brand and I'm happy with that, and I wasn't going to pay the amount of money they wanted for their special membrane, but it does mean that it avoids the official warranty. But I wasn't after the warranty for actually using the warranty. I just wanted the product that they were willing to warrant up to like 30, 40 years. That's what these tiles are. I've also double battened, cross battened, because I wanted plenty of ventilation under here. So rather than having the sag of 10 to 15 mil, I wanted a lot of ventilation underneath, and I wanted a nice clear drain for any condensation and moisture that builds up on the roof. So the building inspector was happy with that. He said that's the way to do it if you can. It's not a very common way, I don't think. He seems to think it is now, but I haven't seen anyone cross batten it. And I got a few dodgy looks when people were driving past when it's just the vertical battens on it, because I obviously thought I'd cocked it up and done it wrong, didn't know what I was doing. But well, I don't know what I'm doing. I did know what I was doing with the battens. So you can see there we've got the first course already set up all the way along. So you have to set that obviously so you can work out your spacings. So they're all screwed in, and then that allows you to space them out and work out your first and your last cut. So you'll see on this one I've had to go a lot further than halfway on that cut because the roof's not quite square. I didn't have to do that on the other side, whereas this side I have, so they're a little bit different. So it just means that I'm going to have a sliver of tile on this side on the final on the next row, but it doesn't matter too much because you know you're not really going to see that one. So there you go. So that is the start of it. I will upload some screenshots in the video from the installation manual just so you can physically see how to do it. And also what is really handy about these, because these battens are really crap and they're not straight and you get knots in them and they're a bit wavy, what you can actually do with just side cutters is cut the locating nibs off, so you can actually position them on your batten. So as long as they're on a decent amount of the batten still for your screws, you don't actually have to overhang them, which is great. It's been a lifesaver for me. So you can see on that one now, it's just off a little bit. So you just cut it off and then it's screwed in still, which means you're not stuck to the locating lugs. The only thing I would say, what you definitely have to make sure you do then, if you cut them off, is make sure that the course below is 100% straight. So obviously your batten would normally straighten your tiles with the lugs. So if you haven't got the lugs, you can go a bit skew width. And once you've gone skew width once, because they're locking into each other, they'll put the whole roof out. So you have to be careful of that. On the other side, that will show you now, right at the top, there's a slight curve over about 6 tiles, and that's replicated all the way along it, but you can't see it from down on the roadside. So yeah, it's negligible, it's just like the top there, but you can't really see it. But that is that side completely done, more or less. I've been assured that the colours on the tiles are a bit darker will fade in time and it will become a bit more natural. As you can see there, they're slightly darker than ones, which is a bit annoying. But yeah, so I've got to basically do this again on that side, and then right on the top, you can see there's a double batten up there. That is for the verge or ridge tiles, and there's a breather roll that rolls across the top of it that waterproofs the top, that stops the water getting in and allows it to breathe. So I'll be doing that right at the end once I've done the roof. So there you go, there's a little update of what we're doing. Let's crack on.